Alright folks, how you doing? So here's another kind of ridiculous scene from Braveheart I'm going to be debunking. Feels like this is turning into a full-time job. I should be earning money out of this. But let's have a look. So first of all, I need to rewind a little bit. I just love this imagery of Wallace as some sort of a demonic figure with all the fire in the background and things like that. But the real Wallace, he was very, very Christian, so he was a devout Catholic, you know, and he prayed often to the Virgin Mary, and you know, he received the sacrament before his death from the Archbishop of Canterbury. I've covered that in another video, because Christianity back then was quite different as to what we think of it nowadays. But it's ironic to see Wallace depicted here as some sort of demonic avenging force, looking like a complete madman. Although, of course, this is just in Mornay's head. It was a fictional character, by the way, never existed, but, you know, it's a movie at the end of the day. But, you know, the fact that he sees Wallace as this avenging, demonic, evil fiend who's coming for him in his dreams. It's almost like something out of, what was that, Freddy Krueger film, Nightmare on Elm Street? You know, Nightmare on Loch Lynn, I guess. Now, one thing I do like about this scene is that it depicts houses as they would have been back then, you know. Multi-storied, you know, made mostly of wood and stone. You have a hearth by the fire and a proper bed. You know, the set designs in this movie were not fantastic. For 1995 standards, they were probably fairly okay. But, you know, I don't like the depiction of the village battles and things, like it looks like Scarab Bray, but this is a big improvement, you know. My first question would be, how the hell did he get the horse up the stairs? If you've ever been to the Wallace Monument in Stirling, you know, or the Walter Scott Monument in Princess Street, you know, the Scottish staircase style, the baronial style, was windy. In other words, it was circular, it was serpentine, it followed like a vortex going up. You know, I don't know if that was the case back in the 13th century, but I imagine it probably was, just to save on space. So how Wallace managed to get his horse to negotiate stairs that wind in a circle is pretty impressive. And how did he get past all of his guards? You know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the fact he's able to get the horse up the stairs, that must be a really good horse. And the way that they shot this, Mel Gibson described it in the commentary, is they just did it backwards, you know, and they just reversed the footage. But it looks really effective. Yeah, what is the point of this door? It was literally the door to nowhere, you know. Plot convenience door is very convenient. Yeah, how did Wallace get past all these guards when he got in the house in the first place? That's what I want to know. Yeah, like I said, plot convenience door is very convenient. Oh, a poor horse. Of course, if you listen to the commentary, you know, Mel Gibson describes this whole scene, you know, the horse wasn't harmed or anything like that. A lot of trickery and fakery involved, but Yeah.
Lord Craig, is it true about Mornay?
No, because he never existed, but like I said, it's only a movie.
Aye. Wallace rode into his bedchamber and killed him.
I love Angus. I think you're in the wrong movie. It looks like he should be on the set of The Addams Family. You know, I'm Angus McFadden. I've only ever seen him in this, actually, but he looks like such a mood. You should be hanging out with Gomez and Morticia and Pugsley and Wednesday and Lurch. You know, I think you're in the wrong movie, mate.
More of a liability now than ever he was.
I just love this look in his face, though. I mean, I'm obviously joking. I'm being facetious, but this look in his face of just sulkiness and, you know, moodiness. And for any of you who are into astrology out there, both Robert the Bruce and William Wallace were born under the star sign Cancer, as is Scotland itself. Interestingly.
And there's no telling who'll be next.
Maybe you.
Maybe me.
Doesn't matter.
I love this passive aggressiveness.
I'm serious, Robert. So am I!
And a straight out aggressiveness. Just looks so disgusted with all his fellow Scottish nobles, you know. Well, that's certainly one way to send a message.
Search the place!
Yeah. In real life, Wallace was 6'9". He stood out like a sore thumb. You know, so they would have found him pretty quick. Again, never existed. But in real life, Wallace never did anything like this. He never went after his own nobles. In fact, he even forgave Earl Corsepatrick, who was the man most directly responsible, after King Edward himself, for the massacre of over 7,000 Scots at the sacking of Berwick in 1296, and he was also the one responsible for locking up the 4 leaders of the Scottish army at the Battle of Dunbar, which Wallace was present for. You know, so if Wallace could forgive someone who committed crimes against his own people on that level, I don't think he'd go around massacring minor nobles for abandoning the Scots at Falkirk. You know, I mean, Wallace in real life didn't even go after John Comyn or any of them, you know. And the reason why Wallace resigned the guardianship after Falkirk, it wasn't nothing to do with him losing at Falkirk, because he very swiftly avenged that defeat at the Battle of Linlithgow. See the video I made about that. But there was a couple of reasons Wallace resigned. First of all, he knew that he would never be able to take over Scotland as king without a civil war, which is why he rejected the crown. They crowned him king for one day at Allerton Moor, which is just outside of Leeds, but he only accepted it for a single day because it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings. Aragorn's reluctant to take the crown because he doesn't want to create division. It's kind of like that, if you're familiar with Tolkien's universe. But, you know, because of his rank in society and because of hierarchy and all the rest of it, you know, and because he was too much like the old Celtic kings, the way that he would run things and rule, you know, a lot of the Scots who were in league with Longshanks and London, and a lot of those who were loyal to the old kind of Norman system brought in by King David I, they would never go along with Wallace, and he knew it. But another reason why Wallace would never accept the crown is he just didn't really have the temperament for it. He just didn't want to be king, you know. He always shunned power, you know. He always shunned that level of responsibility. Just wasn't interested in it. He would rather live free than have all the power in the world, you know. He just didn't really care for it, to be honest. And I think he was correct. I don't think William Wallace would have made a good king. You know, I mean, for those out there who say I'm a Wallace fanboy like Jeff Skeptic, if you actually watch my videos and listen to them, he would know, you know, it's a lot more complex than that. No, William Wallace would not have been a good king, in my opinion. Robert the Bruce was the right man for the job, and Wallace always wanted Robert the Bruce to be king. That's one thing that Braveheart did manage to get right. But, you know, Wallace, he just he read the situation. He knew at the Battle of Falkirk that, you know, John Comyn was responsible for creating division between Sir John Stewart, who was the actual leader at the Battle of Falkirk, not William Wallace, and Wallace himself. You know, even though Comyn was freed from English captivity because of William Wallace, you know, his negotiations with the Queen. And that was Queen Margaret of France, you know, the second wife of King Edward. Also, see the video I made about that. But, you know, the climate just wasn't right for Wallace to be king. But he never did this. He never went after his own nobles. Like he said, he even forgave Earl Corspatrick, of all people, you know, and he did a lot worse than anything Lachlan or Moray in this movie ever did. You know, he even forgave Robert the Bruce, who fought against him at the Battle of Falkirk. In fact, Robert the Bruce wounded William Wallace on the Battle of Falkirk. I mean physically, I don't mean emotionally, I mean he physically wounded him. He almost killed him. And Wallace still met with him only a few hours later and was willing to hear him out. So, you know, what happened in real life went way beyond what you see in the movie, you know. Now, this part of the movie is basically a Visit Scotland commercial. I mean, the whole movie is basically a Visit Scotland commercial. Certainly most of it was filmed in Ireland, but this part was definitely filmed in Scotland. There's nowhere in Ireland that looks like this. Because I've been to Ireland before. I spent this was about, I don't know, a good number of years ago. Maybe 5 years ago at this point. But I visited Dublin and I saw most of Ireland over the course of a week because it's not a big country. I went on tours every day for 5 days in a row. Talk about pretty exhausting. I can tell you for a fact there is nowhere in Ireland that looks like this. I've seen enough of it to know. This is definitely Scotland.
Killed 50 men. 50 if it was one.
100 men.
This is another thing Braveheart gets right. The legend of Wallace spread very, very, very quickly.
His own sword cut through them like Moses through the Red Sea.
Let me know in the comments where you think this is specifically. I personally think it might be Loch Ness, but I'm not totally sure. See there? I think that's Loch Ness. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Though, I do have to emphasise, I'm guessing. I like this scene. This is a good scene. Where you see all the followers of Wallace following after him. This certainly could be a scene straight out of the early days. You know, the portions of my Wallace novels were taken from the perspective of Tom Halliday, the nephew of Wallace. But yeah, the idea just going around and burning everywhere down where you go. And I just noticed the English soldiers dead off to the right here. I never noticed that before now. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching.